standard form. It looks different than vertex form. It does not have the parentheses. That's kind of the big thing, how you would know. If you see the parentheses, it's vertex form. If you don't see the parentheses, it's standard form. And standard form looks like this. It's y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. When I ask what is the a, I'm always talking about the number in front of the x squared. If I ask for the b, I'm always asking for the number in front of the x, and c will always be the number by itself. So just like with vertex form, the a, or the number in the front, tells us if our parabola points up or points down. If it is a positive number, the parabola points up. If it's a negative number, the parabola points down. C is also important because it tells us what the y-intercept is. And the y-intercept, you could just say the number. So if it says plus 7, you could say that the y-intercept is 7. But you could also write a coordinate where it's 0, comma, your c. So whatever that number is. So when you have a coordinate, if it's the y-intercept, there's a 0 in the x spot. And then the number is where it actually crosses the y-axis. Now the first thing we're going to practice is the vertex. And this is a teensy bit harder than vertex form. We actually have to use the calculator. There's a small formula that we use to find the vertex. And it's this formula right here. X equals negative b over 2a. So the formula, you will always have a negative in the front. No matter what your b is, you always put a negative, and then you also always have a 2 in the denominator. That's just part of the formula. Now that number, when we plug that into the calculator, only gives us the x value of the vertex. In order to find the y value, we have to plug that x back in. Or you can use the store button on your calculator to get the y. So let's go down to an actual example. The first thing I want you to do is label your A, B, and C. What number is in front of the x squared? 1. If you don't see a number, you assume it's 1. Positive 1. What number is in front of the x? Negative 4. So my B is negative 4. And then what's my C?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Good. To find the vertex, I'm going to use my formula. Negative B over 2A. So my B is negative 4. I'm going to put that in the B spot. And then my A is 1. And then you can type that into the calculator. How do you do a fraction? Alpha y equals gives us a fraction. And so I have a negative, in my parentheses, yep, you got to type it in exactly as you have it wrote down. And then I have negative 4. So you kind of have two negatives there. Okay.
I got negative 2.
Oh, I didn't put the 2.
Okay, and then on the bottom, it's 2, and then in parentheses, 1.
So you just put X at the beginning? Or you put X in?
You don't type the X in. This fraction is going to give me my X. So when I hit enter, I get 2. So the X value of my vertex is 2. To find the Y value, I have to plug that 2 back in for the X. And that'll give me the Y. So it would be 2 squared times 2 minus 5. And it's okay to type it in like this. You probably would be okay on this problem, but when there are a lot of negatives involved, you can run into some problems. So I would still use the store button. Alright, so type in a 2, and then the store button, which is right above on, by side of the 1, and then hit X. So we're telling the calculator that 2 is our X. And you hit enter. So it's 2 store X, then you hit enter, and then you type in this equation, x squared minus 4x minus 5. And what this does is the calculator itself fills in the 2 for the x's. And you don't have to worry about negatives and parentheses and all of those things that can go wrong with the calculator.
-9.
And it gives us -9.
How'd I get a sign? Oh.
-30. Whoa.
You can do that on like multiple choice. You can just store that.
So that means that my vertex is the point 2, -9. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Let's look at number 2. Label your A, B, and C. A is 2, B is 12, C is 16. Then I'm going to go to my formula. X equals negative B. So I'm going to put my B in those parentheses over 2 times my A. Negative B over 2A. Alpha y equals gives me a fraction. Negative, and then I put the 12 in parentheses over 2, and then I put the 2 in parentheses. Yep, -3. So that's the x value. To find the y value, what do I do with the -3? Store it, plug it in. negative 3, store x. And then I'm going to type in 2x squared plus 12x plus 16. And I get negative 2. So my vertex is at the point negative 3, negative 2. Are there any questions on how I got the vertex? Let's go flip. So these next 3 examples, I'm going to find the vertex, but then I'm also going to find a few other things that we won't have to calculate. We will get those answers from the vertex. Number 3, start by labeling your A, B, and C.
Is 16.
A is 1, B is 16, and C is 71. Is there anything at this point that you don't know how to get? Then we go to the formula. X equals negative, and then my B over 2, and then my A. Do get negative 8. So that's what I'm going to store and plug in for x.
Where do you get that equation?
It's the problem up here. I'm putting a negative 8 in the x spot, which when you store in the calculator, that's what the calculator's doing. It just doesn't show you that.
Where the y come from?
Well, this says f of x equals. I could also put y equals. Kind of the same thing. We learned that in Unit 1. So let's see. I'm going to do negative 8, store x. Now, even though I write it out like this, I'm still going to use the store button in the calculator just because you'll avoid some very common mistakes. So x squared plus 16x plus 71 gives us 7. If you tried to type this in without using the store button, a lot of people don't put these parentheses around the negative 8. And that's where you would get the wrong answer. So my vertex is at the point negative 8, 7.
I thought you don't have to enter the 8 if you put a store in.
You thought what?
You don't have to enter the 8 if you have a store.
Well, it's still part of my vertex, but when I type it in the calculator, I can do it like this. I don't have to like actually write it. I just wrote it to show you what was happening. So, does my parabola open up or down? Up. My A is a positive 1. So, since it opens up, that means I have a minimum at 7. It's the y value of your vertex. And then what's my axis of symmetry? X equals -8. And then what's my y-intercept? What? It is not 7. It's 71. It's your C. And if we write it as a coordinate, we need to do 0, 71. If you just said 71, I would accept that as well. Let's do number 4. What is A? 1. B? -2. And C? -5. Good. Alright, so the formula, X equals negative, and then my B is -2 over 2, and then my A, which is 1. And that gives me what? 1. And then to find the y value, we take the 1 and put it in the x spot. And you can use the store button instead. 1 store x. And then type in your expression. And that gives you -6. So the vertex is at the point 1, -6. I want you to try number 5 on your own. Let's finish number 4. I do need to go to bed. Right. Does my parabola point up or down?
Down. For up.
It points up, so I have a minimum at -6. What's my axis of symmetry? X equals 1. And my y-intercept? 0, -5. Now you can do number 5 on your own. So this is what you should have on number 5.
Alright, -7.
So you got -7 for the x. Yeah, that's right.
Just put my X in.
And then you've got to then store that in your calculator. So do -7 store x. And then you type in your equation. So are there any questions on where I got any of this?
The only thing I have issues with is like the minimum vertex and all that.
So these numbers, that is your vertex. what we found here, the -7, -10, that was finding the vertex. Okay, and then because I have a negative in the front, that means that my parabola points down like this. When you have a negative in the front, it points down. So the vertex is at the top, making it a maximum.
So much for me to remember.
It is a lot to remember, but you'll have your notes. So let's move on to number 6. And on these, we're going to do the graphing. In order to get a graph, you need to first find your vertex. Otherwise, you don't really know what numbers to plug in, where to start. So, label your A, B, and C. And then our formula, x equals -12, because my b is -12, over 2, and then my a is 2. Alright, what do we get for our x? 3. And then if I do 3 store x, I can type in 2x squared minus 12x plus 16. So type it into the calculator, and that's going to give you the y value of your vertex. And I got -2. So we have a vertex at the point 3, -2. Did I show you how to get the table on your calculator yesterday?
Yeah.
Yep. So if you go to y equals, follow along with me so you don't ask me how to do it in 30 seconds. And then type in 2x squared minus 12x plus 16.
2x squared. Where is, oh, it's right there.
And then I notice above the graph button in blue it says table, and I want to see the table. So I hit second graph, and that's going to take me to the table.
I got there.
Okay. My table, when I first got on it, started with an x of 0, but you can scroll up or down forever. It goes infinite numbers. Since my vertex is at 3, -2, I'm going to take and go to where my vertex is, because that's kind of the center. And then I want to graph as many points around that as I can. Not every point will fit on my graph. It actually only goes to 5. So I have 2, 0. Can I do 1, 6? No, because it only goes to 5.
You just select random ones, start doing them.
I have 4, 0. Yep, I'm just picking the ones that will fit on my graph. Like 5, 6 won't fit because it goes off off of my graph. Okay. So really, these are the only 3 points that'll fit. And so this is what my parabola looks like. So when you get to your table, you need to scroll till you get to find your vertex, and that's kind of a good starting point. Okay. Let's look at number 7. What is A?
-1.
B?
8.
C?
15.
Good. So we're going to use so it's x equals negative, and then in parentheses is my b, which is 8, over 2 times my a, which is -1. That's negative b over 2a.
What do I need to put
You should just always put the parentheses.
negative or just 4? Positive.
Yep, it is positive 4. And then you can store that. Because that's my x. And then type in this expression. Negative x squared plus 8x minus 15. And that gives you 1.
Oh, put your calculator back.
So you have a vertex at the point 4, 1. So now we want to get our points. So go to your y equals and clear out the one that's there. And then type in this quadratic. Negative x squared plus 8x minus 15. And then we want to get to the table. So it's second graph. So my vertex, I scrolled down to my vertex, which was 4, 1.
433.
So if my vertex is 4, 1, I can look before that, and I have 3, 0, 2, -3. If I kept trying to go, I would have 1, -8, and my graph doesn't go all the way to -8. Now if I go on the other side of my vertex, I have 5, 0, and that's the only other one that'll fit. And so that's what my parabola looks like.